name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, the one God, Amen, Christos Anesti. We wish all the mothers today a very happy Mother's Day. And if anyone's upset from their mother, please, today is a good day to reconcile and ask for forgiveness. And say a nice word or take them out and do something good to them, remembering all the nice things they have done to us throughout our lives. Today is also a special day because it's, as you saw, the icon of the Virgin Mary was with us in the procession. It's her birthday also. So Mother's Day and the Virgin's birthday. So wish Saint Mary, the Virgin, a happy birthday today. Such a blessed day today. Beautiful sunny day, and we're all joyous and happy because we're still in the happy 50 days. Today's Gospel reading, we call it the Sunday of the Doubting Thomas. And to tell you the truth, it's not only Thomas who was doubting, but all the disciples were doubting also. Because they were sitting in the upper room and they're all afraid. Why were they afraid if they weren't doubting? They're afraid that Christ died and did not come back. It's fear. And fear, of course, because the Romans were searching for them and they wanted to kill them. But in the upper room, there were only 10 disciples. One was missing, who was Thomas. And it's interesting why he wasn't with them. He wasn't afraid. Where was he? We don't know. What was he doing? We don't know. But sometimes, if we have sorrow or upset, some of us will get together and, help each other out in our remorse and in our sadness. But every now and then, one of us cannot do that. We would like to stay alone, separated from everyone, and feel sad on our own. And this was maybe Thomas's dilemma here. And that's why he wasn't present when Christ appeared to the disciples the first time. And you would realize that today's Gospel, we talk about 2 Sundays, which is today, the following Sunday after resurrection, he appeared first to the 10, and then because Thomas doubted. Now, maybe Thomas didn't actually doubt Christ's resurrection, but he doubted what the disciples said, that Christ appeared. He doubted that. And that's why the following week, Christ came and appeared to Thomas also. So, if we look at Mary Magdalene, who was the first person that Christ appeared to her, she first doubted because she thought that he was the gardener. And that's why Christ, when he first met Mary Magdalene, he told her, "Don't touch me," because he knew that she was clinging to him. She wanted to believe that he is still alive. So he said, "I still have not resurrected. I ascended to heaven, so please do not touch me." And also, when she went and told the disciples that Christ rose, the first 2 that went and saw the empty tomb was St. Peter and St. John, and they also doubted. They thought that maybe, thieves took him, or the Romans took him, or they went back and stayed for an entire week, fearful. We don't know what they did during this week. They were praying, maybe they were, cuddling each other. They're talking about the miracles that Christ did. It's interesting because they saw all this. They saw the many miracles that Christ did. And they still were afraid. They saw the rising of Lazarus from the dead. If Christ can rise someone up from the dead, why can't he rise himself up from the dead? As humans, we forget. We forget all these things. Even us today. We're in church now. We've read everything. We know everything about Christ, the church, the Gospels. We're strong in our faith. But every now and then, what happens to us? We doubt. we feel afraid. Fear is a very emotional factor in our lives, and we see it day in and day out. We're afraid from many things. We're afraid from the future, what's happening to us. We're afraid from this pandemic. We don't know when it's going to end. You can see what's happening in India now. Many people are dying on the streets. We're afraid from who we're going to marry. Is this person going to be a good person, or he's like a closed watermelon? We don't know what's inside of him or her. We're afraid. We're afraid from the unknown. Parents are afraid that the children will grow up not in the church and away from Christ and from the church. We're afraid from ourselves. We're afraid from sin. Will we fall one day, a very hard fall, and hurt ourselves in this special sin that we're doing? There's a lot of things that we're afraid of. But when we're afraid, God comes to us and says to us, do not be afraid. Peace be to you. That's what he did. Once he appeared to the disciples, all the doors were closed, he just appeared. And he was well known because of his, the signs of the nails and the side. And we know that when we get to heaven, that we're going to have perfect bodies. We're not going to have any scars. If you have a bad limb, or you don't have hands or legs, or you don't have an eye or anything, everything is going to be perfect in heaven. But why is Christ coming with these signs? It's only for us to remember what he has done for us in our lives, that he suffered for us so we can be where we are now and have a place in heaven. This is why when we do go to heaven, God willing, we will see him as the Christ who was nailed on the cross and suffered for us. And these wounds, the wounds of righteousness, the wounds of happiness, of joy, that when we see, we celebrate with Jesus. Peace be to you. First thing he said to the disciples, do not fear. I am with you. When he showed them his wounds, the disciples were glad and knew that he was the Christ. Throughout the liturgy, Abuna always says, peace be to you. It's not Abuna saying, it's actually Christ is saying from the altar, he's saying to you, peace be to you, not us. So when I say peace be to you, that peace is coming from where? From the altar, from heaven. Christ is saying it. If you are afraid today, do not be afraid. God sends his peace to you and peace to your heart. What did he do the first thing with the disciples? He breathed into their faces and gave them what? He gave them the Holy Spirit. Then you're going to say, but what about the tongues of fire that came on them in Pentecost? Isn't that the Holy Spirit? Yes, it is. But in order for them to start serving and go out and preach and make miracles and do what they're supposed to do as disciples, he needed to give them the Holy Spirit from the beginning. And he said to them, if you forgive sins, their sins are forgiven. And if you retain, they are retained. So he gave them also the sacrament of what? Priesthood. That is a special rest that they were given through Christ. And it's really nice in the ordination of priests, when the bishop or pope ordains a priest, and after he finishes, he goes in, the bishop or priest will hold their hands and tell them to open their mouth, and they would actually say, receive the Holy Spirit. The same Spirit, the Spirit of priesthood, or the sacrament of priesthood, in order for them to forgive sins. No one can forgive sins except God. But we, in confession, were able to forgive sins through the Holy Spirit that was blown to us through the Church Fathers. And it was given to us through Christ all the way down to us. Once they received the Holy Spirit, they were able to go, they were able to serve, they weren't afraid, they were out and about, and they did their mission. Again, when we have fear, there's a lot of factors that will affect us. Our health, we have stress, we're afraid to do anything. And even we doubt when we have fear. And this is why we have to reject the fear altogether. If any of us, especially if you have fear of health, these days a lot of people sick, a lot of people dying, and we're fearful for them. We're fearful that they're going to leave us, and we're afraid where they're going to go. We don't know. So we ask that if you're afraid for them, no, this is doubting. This is doubting your faith. This is doubting what you believe. God is with us. Whatever He does to us or to our family or to our loved ones or to the people around us, we have to accept it. We don't doubt. We ask God that He heals the people. And if He doesn't and He takes them, that's their time. We shouldn't be afraid. We'll be upset that they leave us, but we know that they're good people and they will have a good place in heaven. So fear will bring doubts. And if you doubt, it's disbelief or unbelief. And if it's inside of you, then you're not doing the right thing. You're not living the right Christian way. When Thomas doubted and Christ came in front of him and he asked that he touches the place where the nails were and his side, do you think he did that? Well, the gospel doesn't mention that. The gospel doesn't say he touched or he didn't. But if Christ appears in front of you and you see that, you're going to go and touch? I don't think so. I think you'll fall down and worship like Thomas did. And he would say, my Lord and my God, truly you are God, proving His divinity and His deity, and not touching, of course, His side or the nails. Although Christ told him to do that, but he didn't. When Christ saw this, and Thomas did that, He said to Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. But blessed are those who believe without seeing. Who are they? Us, each one of you. You believe without seeing, and that's the strongest faith of all. So if you believe without seeing all the way until the end of your breath, until the end of the world, until you go to heaven, then that's a blessing. And God will reward you many times because of this. So do not doubt at all. And it says something interesting in verse 30, that truly Jesus did many other signs in the presence of His disciples which weren't written in the book. So we can imagine the signs that He did we don't know of. Maybe one day we can ask Christ when we meet Him what were those signs, or the disciples when you meet them can ask them what those signs were. Life goes on. Life isn't easy. No one said Christianity is easy, but you have to work on it. Do not be lazy. Do not sit around doing nothing. Always do something that will benefit your life and benefit other people's lives. Accept what comes to you with thanksgiving, without doubting, without being afraid. Glory be to God for the deliverer.